All right, so get ready because we're going deep on this one. iPhone versus Samsung. It's the battle that never ends. Seems like everyone's got an opinion. You guys sent in a ton of articles, so let's dig in and see what we can uncover.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody's got to have a smartphone, right? But it's not just about specs anymore. We're going to look at the stuff that might not be so obvious, things that could really help you decide what's best for you.
Exactly. Like, how much do they cost to fix if you drop them? What about AI? Everybody's talking about AI these days. And what about resale value? Like, which one holds its value better if you want to upgrade later? But first, let's just lay out the basics. Samsung has like a zillion different phones, right? While Apple seems to like to keep things a little bit simpler.
Yeah, you're right. Samsung's all about options. They want to have a phone for everyone, every budget. You get your budget-friendly A and M series. Those are great if you want something solid without breaking the bank.
Like, I've been reading about that Galaxy A14 5G. It's only like 200 bucks,
Yeah.
but it's got this insane battery life.
Yeah. They say it can last like 15 hours with the screen on.
15 hours. That's wild. I'll probably forget to charge it.
That's almost 3 hours longer than your average iPhone.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you're someone who's always on their phone, that's a big deal. But, to get a brand new iPhone, you're looking at least $429 for the 2022 iPhone SE.
And that SE is starting to look a little, old school, right? Especially next to those fancy new
Well,
Samsungs.
it's Apple for you. They focus on a few key models, quality over quantity.
I guess it's one way to do it. But then you got those super high-end phones, the flagships. Samsung has the S24 Plus and the Ultra. Those have killer cameras and that S Pen thing, which is kind of cool. And Apple's got the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max.
Yeah, those are the big dogs for sure. Top of the line everything. But Samsung's also doing those foldables, the Galaxy Z Flip 6 and the Z Fold 6.
Apple still hasn't jumped on that foldable bandwagon, huh?
Not yet. Maybe they're working on something super secret. Who knows?
Yeah.
But look, design is just one piece of the puzzle. Let's talk about what's happening under the hood, the chips.
Yeah, the brains of the operation. This is where it gets kind of geeky, right? Snapdragon, Exynos, A17 Pro. Can you break it down for us, mere mortals?
Okay, so Samsung uses a couple of different chips. They use Qualcomm's Snapdragon chips, and then they also use their own chips called Exynos. And which one they use can actually depend on where you buy the phone. That's caused some debate because the performance can vary a bit. But Apple, they design and use their own chips, the A-series chips. They're known for being super consistent.
So Apple has more control over its chips, while Samsung kind of mixes it up.
Yep, that's one way to look at it. And in the benchmarks, the latest iPhone chips, the A16 Bionic and the A17 Pro, they usually score a bit higher in CPU performance.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that handles multitasking, when you've got a bunch of apps open or when you're using really demanding apps.
So if you're the type who pushes their phone to the limit, iPhone might have an edge there.
Yeah, probably. But Samsung, they often do better in GPU performance. And actually, that base Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, the one Samsung uses, it beats the A17 Pro in multi-core performance.
Mhm. Whoa, hold on. Samsung's winning in that one. So that's good for like gamers and stuff, right? The graphics performance.
Yep, exactly. But let's be real. Most people judge a phone by its camera these days. And megapixels, well, that's the magic word, especially for Samsung.
It's all about those megapixels. The bigger the number, the better, right?
Well, Samsung seems to think so. They keep pushing the megapixel count higher. Like that S23 Ultra, it's got a 200 megapixel main camera. That's crazy. But Apple, they're more focused on image processing. They can get amazing results even with lower megapixel sensors.
So it's like Samsung's going for brute force while Apple's being more refined.
That's a good way to put it. They each have their strengths. Samsung's high megapixels give you insane detail. You can crop and edit like crazy. But Apple's processing, it often creates photos that look more natural, especially when the lighting's tricky.
Interesting. I've also heard that a lot of like serious video people, like filmmakers and YouTubers, they really love iPhone video.
Yeah, that's because Apple's put a lot of effort into features that pros love. Like, they've got ProRes video recording, which basically means it captures way more data, so it's great for editing. And they've got log recording, which gives you more control over color grading after you've shot the video.
So Samsung wins on megapixels, but Apple's got the video edge. Makes sense. Okay, what about the screens? I mean, we spend hours staring at these things.
Well, both brands are doing some pretty amazing stuff with displays. Their flagships are pretty much neck and neck, amazing colors, super sharp, and high refresh rate, so everything scrolls super smoothly. But Samsung has one advantage here. They use AMOLED technology, even in their cheaper phones.
Wait, hold up. Remind me what AMOLED is again?
It's a type of display that gives you those really deep blacks, super vibrant colors, and it's more energy efficient.
Yeah.
It's better than the old LCD screens you find in the older phones.
And Apple's still using LCD in the iPhone SE.
Ouch. Yeah, that definitely makes the SE feel a bit dated, especially compared to Samsung's budget A series phones, which all have those awesome AMOLED screens. And then there's refresh rates, how smooth everything feels when you scroll. Samsung's got 120 hertz refresh rates on a lot of their phones.
Yeah, that buttery smooth scrolling. It's hard to go back once you've experienced it.
I know, right? And Apple only has 120 hertz on their Pro iPhones.
So Samsung's spreading the smooth scrolling love to the masses. But you know what really stresses me out? Battery life. Nothing worse than your phone dying when you need it.
I know. And Samsung definitely wins this one. They always have bigger batteries. Like some of their phones have 5,000 milliamp batteries. That's huge.
5,000 middle app. Is that why those Galaxy A series phones can last like 15 hours?
Yeah, partly. Bigger battery means more juice. And they've also got crazy fast charging. But the S24 Ultra charges at 45W.
45W. That's got to be way faster than iPhones, right?
Yep. iPhone 15 Pro Max only does 27W. So Samsung charges way quicker. But both companies are using that new Q2 standard for wireless charging. That's based on Apple's MagSafe technology. So wireless charging is getting faster across the board.
So even with something Apple came up with, Samsung's keeping pace and even pushing it further sometimes. They're definitely not messing around.
Competition is fierce. But hardware is only half the story, right? You got to think about software, too. The operating system is what really makes a phone feel like, your phone. And that's where the Android versus iOS debate comes in.
Ah, yeah. The ultimate battle. It's like choosing between two completely different worlds.
Exactly. They each have their own philosophy, their own way of doing things. So where do we even begin with this one? This whole discussion's got me thinking about something the articles didn't really mention.
Ooh, a mystery. Now I'm really curious. What are we missing?
Well, we've been talking about iPhone versus Samsung, like it's a two-horse race. But there's another phone out there, another option people might want to consider.
Could you be talking about the Google Pixel?
Yeah, the Pixel. People kind of forget about it sometimes. It doesn't get the same hype as the iPhones and Galaxies, but it's got some serious strengths, a really unique mix of hardware and software.
I keep hearing about those Pixel cameras and that Google's put a ton of AI into them. Is that what makes them so special?
Definitely. Google's been all about AI for years. They're way ahead of the game. And they're using that expertise to make the Pixel camera, well, kind of amazing. It's all about computational photography. Basically, AI makes your photos look incredible.
So it's like having a pro photographer in your pocket. That's pretty cool.
Pretty much. The AI can analyze what you're shooting and adjust everything in real time. Exposure, color balance, it can even get rid of stuff you don't want in the photo.
Seriously, that's
Yeah.
wild. But if Google's so good at AI and the Pixel's got this awesome camera, why aren't they more popular?
Well, it's a few things. Google hasn't been as, loud about the Pixel as Apple and Samsung. They haven't marketed it as aggressively.
Yeah.
Plus, they got into the phone game a little later, so they're still building their ecosystem, all those extra devices and services.
So they're the underdog. But hey, sometimes the underdog has the best story.
Totally. And for some people, the Pixel might be the perfect fit, especially if you love that pure Google software experience. It's clean, simple, and it just works. Plus, Google's all about AI. So if you're excited about that, the Pixel's a good bet.
All right, listeners, take note. The Google Pixel, a dark horse in the smartphone race. But even with this new contender, it all comes down to what you need and what you want.
Exactly. There's no perfect phone for everyone. It's all about finding the one that fits your lifestyle, your budget, and what you care about most.
Which is exactly what these deep dives are for, helping you guys figure out what's best for you.
Okay, so we talked about those long-term costs, like resale value and repairs. We sort of skimmed over those.
You want to dive deeper into that? I think it's worth it, especially if you're planning to keep your phone for a while.
You're right. Those costs can really add up over time.
So, resale value. We said iPhones usually hold their value better, but by how much? Give us some numbers.
All right, let's get specific. I was looking at some data from a trade-in website. So let's say you have an iPhone 14 Pro Max, and it's in good condition. After a year, you could probably get about 60% of what you paid for it back.
60%? That's not bad. What about a Samsung, like the S23 Ultra?
For that, you're probably looking at more like 45%.
So, yeah, there's a definite difference there. iPhones are like an investment.
Well,
But what about repairs? Those can be a killer.
yeah, and Apple's notorious for expensive repairs, especially if you go to an Apple store. Like if you crack your iPhone 15 Pro Max screen, it could cost you like $400 to fix it.
Ouch! That's a lot of dough. How does Samsung compare?
To fix a cracked screen on a comparable Samsung, it'd probably be closer to $250. And Samsung's got a more open system. So you can go to a bunch of different places to get it fixed, not just official Samsung places.
So you could probably find a good third-party repair shop and save even more.
Yeah, probably. So in the long run, Samsung could be cheaper to own.
Makes you think, huh. Okay, we talked a lot about AI already, like how it's used in cameras and stuff, but let's zoom out a bit. Think bigger picture. How's AI changing the whole smartphone experience?
It's a good question. Because AI is not just about cool features anymore. It's becoming like the foundation of what a smartphone is. It's about making your phone learn your habits, know what you need, and just fit into your life seamlessly.
So it's like our phones are becoming, I don't know, like our buddies.
Yeah, kinda, like little intelligent companions. Think about it. It powers Siri and Google Assistant. It suggests apps you might like. It manages your battery life. It even blocks those annoying spam calls.
It's crazy how much AI is happening behind the scenes, working its magic without us even realizing it.
I know, right? And it's just going to get crazier. Imagine a phone that can translate languages in real time, or one that can perfectly understand your handwriting, or one that makes custom playlists based on how you're feeling.
Whoa, that sounds like sci-fi. But that's where we're headed.
It is. And it's not just about convenience. AI is getting really good at security and privacy too.
We talked about security before, but how does AI make it better?
Well, AI can look at how you use your phone and spot anything suspicious. It can warn you before anything bad happens, before someone steals your data. It can also personalize your security settings, keep you safe without being annoying.
So it's like having a bodyguard for your phone, always watching, always protecting.
Exactly. And as AI gets smarter, it's going to be even harder for hackers and bad guys to get into our phones.
Sounds like AI is kind of taking over the smartphone world, changing everything about how they work, how secure they are, how they fit into our lives.
Yeah, it's definitely a game changer. But there are also some, concerns, things we got to be careful about.
Oh, yeah, I get that. What kind of concerns?
Well, one thing is data privacy. AI needs a ton of data to work. So there are questions about how that data is collected, how it's stored, how it's used.
That's a good point. Our phones know so much about us these days. We got to make sure that data is protected and that AI isn't doing anything shady with it.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of bias. AI can actually be biased. If it learns from biased data, it can make unfair decisions. It can even reinforce negative stereotypes.
Ooh, that's a scary thought. We got to make sure AI is fair and doesn't discriminate against anyone.
Definitely. And then there's the potential for AI to be used for bad stuff. As AI gets more powerful, we got to think about the ethics, about how to prevent it from being used for harm.
It's not just about the tech itself. It's about using it responsibly, making sure it's a force for good.
Exactly. This is where the tech companies and the government's got to step up. We need rules, guidelines to make sure AI is used ethically.
It's a big responsibility. But we got to figure it out. Okay, enough serious stuff. Let's talk about apps. We haven't really talked about apps yet. And they're kind of, the whole point of having a smartphone.
Yeah. And you know what? AI is changing the app game too. How they're made, how they work, even how we use them.
Okay, hit me with it. What's AI doing to our apps?
Well, first of all, it's making apps more personal. Apps can now learn your habits, what you like, and then tailor the content just for you. It's like the app adapts to you instead of you having to adapt to the app.
That's kind of cool.
Right. And AI is making apps run better too. Smoother, faster, less battery drained, fewer crashes.
Those are always good things. Nobody likes a laggy app that eats up all your battery.
Exactly. And then you've got all those AI-powered features inside apps like real-time translation, image recognition, personalized recommendations. All that stuff's becoming standard in tons of apps, from social media to shopping to productivity apps.
So AI is not just working in the background, it's like right there in our faces, changing how we use our favorite apps.
Totally. And it's only going to get more advanced and integrated.
I'm excited to see what they come up with next. But even with all this AI talk, we can't forget about the other stuff that matters.
Right. It's not all about the latest tech trends.
We gotta look at the whole picture. Like, what about the ecosystem? That whole web of devices and services that go with your phone.
You're talking about smartwatches, wireless earbuds, smart home stuff, all that.
Exactly. Our phones are like the command center for our digital lives these days.
And both Apple and Samsung have built these massive ecosystems. Everything's connected. It's all designed to work together seamlessly.
But they have different approaches, right? Apple's always been about that walled garden thing.
Yeah, everything works perfectly inside the garden. But if you want to use something from outside, Good luck.
You're stuck in Apple land. And Samsung, they seem a little more open.
Yeah, Samsung's way more flexible. They have a ton of different devices, and they play nice with other brands too.
So if you like to mix and match your tech, Samsung's probably a better bet.
Makes sense. It depends how you like to use your gadgets. And of course, we can't forget about software, the operating system. That's the heart and soul of a phone. Android and iOS, they both have their pros and cons.
Right. We talked about them before, but just to recap, Android's great for customization. You can tweak it, change it, make it your own. And iOS is all about simplicity, being easy to use. It's like, do you want a toolbox or a fancy appliance? Both are good. Just depends what you need.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong answer. It depends on your style, how techy you are, how you use your phone. But there's one last thing we need to talk about. The future. What's next for smartphones? Ah, yes. Time to look into the crystal ball. What crazy new stuff will we be carrying around in our pockets in a few years?
Hit me with your predictions. What's the smartphone of the future going to be like?
Well, first off, AI is going to be everywhere, even more than now. As AI gets smarter, it'll personalize our phones in ways we can't even imagine yet.
So our phones will be like super smart and know exactly what we want before we even know it.
Yeah, something like that. And the tech's going to keep getting better too. Screens, batteries, cameras.
Ooh, give me the detail.
Well, we've already got those foldable phones, right? They're kind of like a phone and a tablet in one. But I think we'll see even weirder designs. Phones that change shape, adapt to what you're doing, and batteries, they're getting better all the time. Maybe one day we'll have phones that last for days on a single charge.
I can only dream. No more battery anxiety. And cameras. What about cameras?
Oh, cameras will keep getting more amazing. Higher resolution, better in low light. And AI will keep making them smarter, easier to use, and able to take even better photos and videos.
Sounds like the future of smartphones is pretty awesome. But we got to remember, technology can be, a double-edged sword.
That's true. As our phones get more powerful and connected to our lives, we got to be careful. Think about our privacy, our mental health, how we interact with each other.
Yeah, it's a tool, like any tool. It can be used for good or bad. We got to be the ones in control.
Exactly. Well, I think that about covers it for our iPhone versus Samsung deep dive. What a ride.
It's been epic. We've talked about everything, the specs, the features, the AI, the costs, the future. I hope you guys learned a ton.
And hopefully you can now choose the phone that's right for you.
But the conversation's not over. The tech world never stops changing. There's always something new coming out.
So keep learning, keep asking questions.
And let us know what you think of this deep dive. And if you have any other topics you want us to deep dive into, tell us.
We're always looking for new stuff to explore. Happy teching, everyone.
It's kind of crazy to think about. Our phones are like such a big part of our lives now. But as we wrap up, I was thinking there's something we haven't really talked about.
What's that?
The feeling, the vibe. Like, why do we choose one brand over another? It's not always just about the specs.
Ah, you're talking about brand image, the whole aura of a company. And yeah, that totally plays into our decisions, even with tech stuff.
Totally. Like Apple, they've built this whole image of, I don't know, being cool, sophisticated, kind of exclusive. And Samsung, they're more about pushing the limits, being bold, futuristic.
It's true. Apple's like that club everyone wants to be in. And they've done an amazing job at creating that. People want to be part of it.
And Samsung, they're for the people who want the latest and greatest. Always pushing boundaries, trying new stuff.
It's funny how these feelings, these ideas about a brand can affect what we buy. We might not even realize it's happening.
It's like, think about cars. Some people love Mercedes, right? That classic luxury feel. But others want a BMW, something sportier. It's not just about how the car drives, it's the whole image, the story.
Exactly. It's like our tech choices say something about who we are, what we value.
So iPhone versus Samsung, it's more than just comparing features. It's like these two different philosophies, two different ways of seeing the world.
I like that. And it's something to think about when you're making your decision. Which brand speaks to you? Which one feels like, a good fit?
It's got to be a phone that you not only like to use, but that you feel good about having. A phone that kind of reflects you.
Well said. Well, I think that just about wraps up our deep dive into the world of iPhone versus Samsung.
It's been a journey. We covered everything from the tiny details to the big picture stuff, AI, ecosystems, the future of smartphones. Whew.
Hopefully you guys listening got a lot out of it. And maybe you even learned a thing or two.
And most importantly, hopefully, you can now choose the right phone for you. The one that fits your needs, your budget, your style.
Exactly. The perfect phone's out there. You just got to find it.
But hey, the conversation doesn't end here. Tech's always changing. There's always something new to explore. So stay curious, folks. Keep those questions coming. And let us know what you think of this deep dive. What other topics do you want us to tackle?
We're always up for a challenge. And who knows, maybe we'll uncover some more hidden gems along the way. Until next time.